Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the free-to-play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Will Shatner. Episode 203. We're recording on December 8th. You're watching it on the 9th or later. I'm Mike Byrne, aka magicman, and with me to talk about games, Mr. Zach Sharps. What's up, sir?
Nothing much. Thought I'd be a little bit more festive. It's
It's
evolving. If we wait till next week, there'll even be ornaments and lights on it. So
hey, you have a
evolving.
knight, and who is it? Is a solid snake back there looking there?
That's Geralt.
Oh,
I'm not sure if it's gonna show or not on camera.
Yeah, it's a little snake looking, but I could definitely see the Witcher in him now.
Yeah.
Also on the line, hat, background, and all, Ms. Quidlin Bowers. How are you?
All right, funny thing, we actually ended up watching a Christmas horror movie that has William Shatner in it the other day.
Really? What was it?
Yeah. God, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's like this 4 different stories intertwined kind of thing. And William
On Netflix?
Shatner. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I might watch that.
With zombie elves and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's called A Christmas Horror Story.
There you go.
So that's probably why you didn't remember the title, because it is the most generic thing in the world.
Was it actually good, though?
Well, we ended up stopping just because the person who was with us had to leave. But it was interesting. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was kind of fun. Cheesy fun.
I love horror movies. Love them, love them, love them. Yeah, all right, let's get started. Slide over with the news, because we got horror stuff to talk about in the viewer comments from our stuff last week.
Yep.
All right, so first up, I haven't talked about this game in forever, and so when I saw this news, I figured, why not? Allods, or Allods, whichever you prefer, the long-running, pretty much mainly considered World of Warcraft clone, is actually finally adding Draenei to the mix, and... Oh, wait, hold on. I should probably read this. The picture looks very Draenei, but I don't think they... Oh, it's not Draenei, Q. It's Aeds? Aeds?
Aeds.
Aeds?
Well, it's weird because in the post it was spelled AEDS, but on the video they have it spelled AEDOS, so your guess is as good as mine. I just went with that because they typed it more times in the post.
Right? But looking at this, I mean, and Zach, you and I have been in WoW recently more than we have in quite some time. It's hard not to look at... I gotta show the screen. I'm not gonna click play, gang, just because, YouTube and that kind of stuff here, but I've just really gotta show this, I think. They look exactly like, like a Night Elf Draenei. Zach, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's one of those things where Allods has always been a WoW clone, like you mentioned, and it's really been a game that I personally enjoyed. Numerous times I went back and tried to play it, but its biggest issue is population, at least over here in the West. Yeah. And I mean, maybe the free-to-play servers aren't bad, but the subscription-based server, which is the one that I would recommend playing because it doesn't have any pay-to-win shenanigans or anything like that. At least what people say is pay-to-win in that game, which I personally don't know because I never made it to end game, but everyone says it's really ridiculous. And so I hopped on the sub server, tried to play it a while back, really enjoyed it, thought it was a great game, but it just suffered from really bad PR initially, and it's never recovered ever since. And I don't think releasing Draenei is going to really help them much. I think they have a lot of other issues.
And I know I'm mixing Night Elf and Draenei, two races, but come on. I mean, they look like they could be one or the other there, particularly Draenei. And then when you start listening to the way they're describing this race, Q, it's like, okay, they're Draenei. They have a unique relationship with the universe. They arrived in the world with memories that predate even their own race.
From somewhere else.
Right. They're fond of meditation, peaceful presence in order to access the secrets of the universe. When they arrived here, they were forced to adapt and learn to survive in a more unpredictable environment. I mean, it's literally almost the exact Draenei backstory going on here. And I guess it's not a bad thing. I mean, this has got to be a game that I think by now just realizes we are a WoW clone. I mean, it's not like they set out to differentiate themselves from the beginning. And so why not just keep sticking with what seems to work to at least maintain the player base that you still have? I'm honestly amazed this game's still running. I really, really am. I played it years and years ago and enjoyed it for a little while. And then, you know, I made a terrible, terrible video judgment call on and not calling it pay to win because I was not familiar with the endgame portion. And I still have not taken that video down. I take my lumps on it. It's still there. You can go find exactly how wrong and terrible my opinion was because I had not arrived at endgame yet. But yeah, does anybody care? I mean, I hate to say that, but does anybody care about a new race in Allods?
I don't think so. I mean, I was looking back at it a little while ago to see what the server population was because I wanted to go out and play it again, but I didn't really want to pay however much the subscription is for the sub server to go on to another dead server again and not really enjoy myself because there's not really a community there. Because it does do things different from World of Warcraft. It's not like a direct copy-paste experience, but it does tend to do a lot of things over the course of its history that make you sort of scratch your head a bit, like with the Draenei move, for instance. It's like, okay, well, it's definitely heavily influenced at least. But yeah, it's really sad, and I don't see this really improving player numbers, which I think is their biggest issue.
And then Cube, a while ago, they separated the whole, we were free to play and we put up a sub-based server, which I like the idea of a sub-based server, but I hated the implementation of one in a long-running free-to-play game. I thought that was unnecessarily fracturing an established player base. You want to launch a sub-server and a free-to-play server, you want to separate your game base off the bat when you launch? Cool, I get it. I may not agree with it based on your game. I thought it was a good idea for Allods Online, but just not when they did it. It's just, I can't see this lasting much longer, can you?
It's one of those things where, I mean, once a game has been around long enough, they just kind of last because there are those people who just refuse to leave and go somewhere else.
Well, and I guess there's something to be said with the costs have had to have gone down dramatically on this game over the years as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's really the thing. I mean, how much are they spending on the game? Because, I mean, they release content updates here and there, but they don't seem to be super, super massive where it would take a ton of money, just a good bit of time and passion. So, I mean, if they know their engine well, they know what they want to create, they have a smaller team working on it, all that they really need is then the server capabilities. But if there's not really a lot of people playing it, they don't really need a really big server. So they could transfer a lot of those resources to another project, for instance. And I mean, that's what I think they're probably doing at this point. They probably just want to make a little bit of the profit that they are making off of it and just sort of milk it for as long as possible. And I don't think that's really bad for the community that really loves the game. It's just, for us on the outside, it kind of looks like, why are you guys even still in existence? So.
Nifty on MMO Bomb's article actually said Night Elves meet Draenei too. So it's not just me. It's not just me that got this vibe. Thank you, Nifty, for chiming in on that. Oh, but they're strong, they're unaging, they're not prone to sickness, they don't really succumb to poison. Wow. I don't know. I think I'd rather see content in a game that's at 8.0. And I don't know if new race... See, I'm split, though, Zach, because if I said that about World of Warcraft, I would love to see a new race added to World of Warcraft at this point. Or a new race added to, you know, Final Fantasy. Granted, Final Fantasy 14 isn't anywhere near the same age. But this game I look at and go, could just put content in at this point. I don't think... You know, the only real benefit seems to almost milk your existing player base for those consumables to level up a new race to me, Q, and I think that kind of seems a little dirty, not, hey, let's attract new players by putting in a new race.
Well, they may realize that the game is old enough that they're not really going to attract new players, but by putting in a new race, if they give it the storyline and everything else that goes with it, you know, normally goes with the new race, then it gives the players that exist something new to do without, you know, necessarily having to be like, here's a whole new raid. Or,
here,
you know,
do the same thing
is.
you've likely done on 4 different characters already, and pay us the money to boost it.
From what I heard, the rating was a lot more of milking their fan base than doing this new race.
Oh, years and years and years ago, yeah, with the whole
that's what got the game into trouble.
Yeah,
that's what got the game in trouble initially.
I mean, disclosure, that stuff's gone. That stuff's been gone for a while. It's
but I still hear that there's
still
a
rough.
lot of mechanics there.
It's just not as rough.
Yeah, and that's why I hate to use the word pay to win, which we'll probably talk about later in the viewer questions, because I saw that you noted one down. But it's just one of those things where it was such a heavy like influence within the game. And it probably still is a decent influence for what I always hear from some of the people in the community.
Oh, yeah.
That unless they just completely get rid of that, I honestly would rather see a new race, because it's like, well, at least you get to play through the part of the game that doesn't require a ton of money. And then once you get to the end, of course, then you have to start spending money. But it's, I don't know. I don't think anything at this point would get, you know, us into it, for example, or new players into it. I think it's really just them trying to expand the universe for the existing players. And I think this is a good way to do it, and a cost-effective way.
Yep, and I do have to. I very rarely flat out will call a game myself pay to win. I'll look at different mechanics and stuff. To me, Allods is absolutely pay to win. I was so wrong in that video 4 or 5 years ago, simply because of the way it handles endgame in a number of ways, including the gemming stuff and things like that. Speaking of games that generally don't have the best pay to win perception, Star Wars The Old Republic has tried to change things up a bit in the most recent patch, as far as the way gear goes, and of course with new content and story, and they dropped it all at once this time and everything. We're speaking more in line with the Galactic Command System. So before we get into what kind of irked Star Wars players this week, Zach, I want to throw it to you, because you were really eager to jump in this. You gave it your bomb last week. You were ready to go. Did it live up to your expectations? How was the story? How's the new Galactic Command Center? What are you feeling about the expansion?
So I'm now sort of at the end of Chapter 7, and I wasn't able to get to Chapter 9 like I hoped, because the chapters, they have a good flow to them. They don't seem like they last too long, but they also don't go fly by too quickly. I mean, there's a couple examples here and there of it flying by a bit quickly, but overall, I mean, I would say that compared to their last expansion, it definitely improved story-wise significantly. It goes from what I thought was about an 8.0 last expansion for story to a 9.0 easily. Like it really just improves greatly, and I really have been enjoying it a lot. There's a lot of variation with the things that you do. At one point, you could be, you know, controlling a robot. Next moment, you could be basically playing Watch Dogs, trying to hack different things with a particular tiny little robot. And next thing you know, you might be going and disguising yourself at one point too. And so it's really one of those things where they try to really emphasize variety within this expansion to make it not feel like you're just killing endless waves of mobs to try and get to the end boss. And I was really worried about what they were going to be doing story-wise with this expansion, because where it left off with the last expansion, and they've allowed me to close up some loose ends that I wanted to, but I'm not really seeing the point where what is it going to be doing afterwards? Like, what's the story going to go from beyond this expansion? And that's maybe because I'm only at the end of Chapter 7. Maybe it will clear up a lot as I, you know, get towards the end. As far as Galactic Command goes, I've not really gotten a lot into that yet. I just now unlocked it since I hit level 70, and I got my first level up. I got my first crate. I do like the fact that when you open up a crate, you're able to exchange it for more galactic experience if you don't like what came out of it. So, you know, if you get a really bad piece of loot, you can just trade it in for more experience and, you know, get towards your next crate. As far as their changes, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a second, the reduction in points for gold mobs, it makes sense, at least from where I'm at right now within the game, because 10 points per gold compared to 1, I mean, 10 points, that means you just have to kill 60 golds, and then, at least for where I'm at in the Galactic command system, that would be a level up for me. Now, maybe it, you know, greatly increases later on, but that's still a lot of points within that system. So I understand why they reduced it, but how much they reduced it is sort of the cause for concern and why people are frustrated. So
yeah, and I think we kind of got to set this up here, Q, so that this makes a little bit of sense here. So the Galactic Command System is BioWare's new gear treadmill for you to get the loots that you wanted, but there is the RNG element. We have talked about that on a previous show, but basically what you've got to do is you've got to rack up command levels by playing the game the way you want. And that's the big selling point that BioWare put on this was, you know, if you just want to do operations, then go do operations. If you want to do the chapters, go do the chapters. If you want to do war zones, go do the war zones. It'll all build and build and build, and eventually, no matter what method of play, you can obtain the gear that you want, with the caveat that there's still being a little bit of RNG. So, what players noticed is that killing gold mobs was netting them 10 command points, which is pretty substantial if you get a group of people farming and just bouncing from planet to planet and stormtrooping areas and mowing down gold monsters and getting 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 every time you do it. BioWare saw this and thought, okay, we got to tweak this a little bit. Now, we totally saw tweaks coming, Q, right? I mean, we had that interview with BioWare before this launched where they said, where we asked them about this type of thing, because we've seen it in Guild Wars 2, where, you know, certain champion monsters started dropping loot, and so they just got farmed to death, and it got tweaked. So we directly asked Ben Irving this, and he, at the time, before it launched, said, right, you need to have the balance of how you earn points to be really spot on, and we put a lot of energy into that. That's something we have all kinds of data and telemetry we've been monitoring very closely, and if it turns out something's too good, we can bump it down. If something's not good enough, we can bump it up. They're fairly straightforward changes to make, and I think it's fair to accept that we'll have to make some adjustments, and this is prior to the launch. So I don't think, Q, to Zach's point, that anybody's really surprised by BioWare making tweaks, but what they did was they took 10 points and dropped it all the way down to 1, essentially making it useless to even go after. So where's the whole, well, if this is the way I want to play, and there's a bunch of us that want to play this way, and just run around and farm galactic command points, then what's wrong in doing that? Why are you nerfing this to hell and back to make it essentially not viable at all?
So, okay, what is the ratio for the other activities that you could do to get those points, though? Like, if you're not farming the gold mobs and you're going and doing something else to get the points instead, like you'd rather do that, what's the ratio between that and, say, farming the gold mobs? Like, wouldn't it make sense to kind of make all those things relatively equal in rewarding the command points so that everybody literally can go do exactly what they enjoy doing to farm it instead of just doing this one thing that's simpler? Like, obviously knocking it back all the way to 1 is ridiculous. Like, that's a huge jump from 10 to 1.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's insane.
It's a 90% reduction.
Exactly, but why were they not all made kind of on par to begin with, so that if you want to go do this thing over here, this is what you can do, but then if you decide to go do something else for a while that's the same, you get a pretty much equal amount of points.
Well, here, I'll give you an example, and this is from Dolphy.net. So if you're looking for Star Wars The Old Republic stuff, I highly recommend. It's a great site. Great site. And Zach's given me the nod. So here's their recommendations as far as the best way to earn command XP. Now, the weekly cap is 318,000, so keep that in mind. You'll hit the cap in your first week by reaching 3429 out of 4030 of your rank 100s. Now, the best way to earn this they have listed here as number 1, story mode uprisings. And they have the description: if you stick to the short ones like Inferno or Fractured and go with a heavy DPS group, i.e. 3 DPS, 1 healer, or all DPS, you can complete them in 6 to 8 minutes for anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 command points per hour. So if we're breaking that down by 6 minutes, that's basically 6 to 8 minutes. That's basically 300 command points per run.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Where farming golds, if it, you know, takes you a minute or 2 to kill one, and it's not taking that long, particularly if you're in a group, right? You could probably, if in some certain areas, catch a couple of them.
They're pretty squishy.
Yeah,
they're very squishy.
You could catch a few of them in a minute. So let's say you can just get 2 golds per minute. That gives you 20 in a 10-minute period. And then, what, getting 10 apiece, that gives you 200 command XP?
Yeah.
For 10 minutes versus 300 in a 6 to 8 minute flashpoint. So it seems to me like numbers-wise, it really wasn't a huge time saver. Granted, I know there are areas where you can do much faster than 2 gold kills per minute, you know, but that's...
And that's really the issue is, you know, when you look at how players react to certain things being in the game, a lot of developers, as much as they may play their game, they don't look to exploit things as much as a standard player would. So if a player who has a lot more knowledge of the game than the developers goes in and they see, oh, there's a bunch of golds I know in this location, I know that this is going to allow me to exploit the hell out of this command system, and they get a bunch of their friends together to go do it. It works really well. They post it on Reddit or whatever. It spreads like wildfire. Then everyone does it. I could see that easily becoming a problem. Now, the issue, though, is, like we mentioned,
at the end of the day, where's the problem? That's my point, is this is not...
The problem is too fast progression.
So what? You're
making
talking
everything
about...
else unbalanced.
What are you talking about unbalanced? We're talking about endgame gear, that most of which was already in the game, and now you've added some new endgame gear to go with your new tiers of various things in your expansion. We're talking about basically being able to redeem that for what? More command XP to get myself gear. I'm not impacting anybody but myself here.
Well, then, okay, right, let's just throw this to World of Warcraft then with artifact power. What if a particular activity in World of Warcraft, for instance, netted 5 times more gains than everything else in the game?
All right,
Wouldn't
if I
that
had
be a
time
problem?
No, if I had time to go and
Yes,
do
it
it,
would.
I would do it. And if I didn't have time to do it, I would do other things.
No, it would be a problem because it basically forces anyone who wants to be efficient with their time to go do that one thing rather than partaking in everything else.
And World of Warcraft's artifact thing is a pretty bad example because we're not even talking about an eye level change by upping that level. You have to update your slots to do that. So yeah, I could get that thing to
but the more
rank
artifact power you have, the quicker you can achieve that.
Right, but all I'm doing at that is changing my own stats. And I'm making myself a little more powerful so that when you and I group up, I'm a little stronger, you're a little stronger. And if you don't want to go do that stuff, fine, you're not quite as strong as me yet. You know, if you have the time, but grinding out mobs like this is boring as hell to you and you don't want to do it, okay, go do something else. The only benefit you're getting is you're getting gear a little bit faster than I am.
It punishes all other activities.
How does it punish all other
because
activities?
They're not equal. If you look at efficiency.
It is!
No, it's not. If one activity allows 5 times higher, I'm just saying 5 times because I'm saying that if they just bring it back up to like 5 points, right, per gold kill, even if it's 5 times more than what everything else is doing, everyone's going to focus on that.
I gotta pull the sleeves
No,
up.
it's all about allowing people to figure out how they're going to invest their time. And if you have an efficient activity in activity A, everyone's going to do activity A because they don't have a lot of time. Even if they only have like an hour to play the game, they're going to go do the higher efficient activity than go do anything else because they're going to get more out of it.
Zach,
so
you've made me light a cigarette. You've made me light a cigarette.
Hey, I don't think that they need to drastically nerf this. I think it should be brought up to like 5, 6, 7, 8, something around there. But I think everything else should be elevated as well. That way, everything is bringing in that much.
Okay, wait though. You
Okay,
said that there's a weekly cap on the amount of these points.
Yes!
It's a weekly cap. So no matter how much you do at the end of the week, you can't have
Exactly!
It doesn't matter though. Because if you make it so one particular activity allows you to hit that weekly cap faster than any other activity, people who want to get that cap done as fast as possible are going to go into that activity and force themselves to go into that grind to make their time more efficient, which basically gets rid of the entire philosophy behind the entire system, which is play the game how you want to all sort of rise up together and get the gear that you want. That's what they wanted. The philosophy was everything is equal, so we need to make everything equal if that's the case, not just allow everyone to go into this one particular type of system, which is grinding golds, and get what they want. Like, that's not really what they wanted to do, and that's why it's wrong. I think that they should, like I said, just elevate everything else. If people like the speed of that, make everything else a bit quicker. That means that the entire system is grindy. It doesn't mean that that one system needs to be knocked down. It just means that it needs to all be elevated up to where that is, or a little bit better balance. That's all I'm saying. Like, I just don't want that to be the most efficient way, because then I'm going to want to do that, and then I'm going to get bored as hell.
There's always going to be a most efficient way. Always.
As a developer,
always.
You're supposed to try and balance that out.
Balance it as much as you want. There's always going to be a more efficient way.
Well, the other thing is there are more ways to balance this than just dropping it. They could have...
No, Zach's answer is don't nerf it, just buff everything else.
But exactly. They could just make the golds less squishy, so they take a little longer to do, and you're not accumulating as fast. So there's like several ways that they could balance this out if they want to, but I really don't have a problem with, like, if I were playing and I know different people have different amounts of time they can spend in game. Some people have all the time in the world to spend in a game and do stuff, so they can go do whatever they want. So for the people that, you know, maybe only do have an hour or so here and there to spend in it, having something that allows them to accumulate points quickly and be geared up so that they can go do the content with their friends who have all the time to, you know, to just hang out in game and do it, you know, do everything. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It might be the, oh, now I have to go grind it if I want to keep up with everybody else, but who's forcing you to do that? You don't have to do anything you don't want to. It's a game.
Amen.
No, but it becomes so linear though. If one
oh my god,
is
really?
So much better.
Did you just
so linear?
Are you just? Did you just go with the linear argument on SWTOR?
Yes, because
the entire game is linear.
The whole issue with SWTOR is there's always been basically PvE has sort of just been like the thing that you do to sort of get gear, and that's it. PvP's always been just thrown to the side. No one's really bothered to sort of amplify that. So
right, and you had no problem playing it then, and now there's a benefit to doing what you were already doing.
Imagine that, a game made by BioWare who excels at single-player storyteller games, you know, doing better at PvE than PvP.
But yeah, but the thing is, what they could have easily done with this system, which they could still do if, like I said, they just amplify everything else, bring the gold kills points up a little bit higher, back around where they originally were. They can make it so going and doing PvP allows you to net a good bit of points per hour. So that way people feel like, oh, well, if I want to go do this, I can, and I can progress my character. That's the whole point of this system. If the whole point of the system is to make all sort of facets close to being equal, you're never going to make everything equal, but close to being equal, then they need to fix it. And they completely failed with what they did in terms of nerfing it 90%. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just arguing that they either needed to lower it a little bit or amplify everything else a little bit to be about the same.
I don't think it should have been nerfed at all. Going back to your artifact example, if you really want to, you can sit there and grind out. There is no limit on WoW's artifact expansion. You can do all the world quests on the map rather than just your emissaries and gather up enough tokens to keep farming it. You can farm those through the time walk dungeons. It's 25 per boss or whatever, and farm them that way. It's all about, if you want to do that and do that grind, go for it. It doesn't put me at a disadvantage to you just because you have 10 hours and you're okay with grinding.
You're using the bad example of, oh, it's PvE, so it doesn't affect anyone else.
You were previously playing PvP content and not getting any of the gear incentive. Now you actually have a gear incentive. Who cares if you can still gain it faster another way?
So, for example, in World of Warcraft, since there's weekly locks on raids, if someone found an exploit where they can complete a raid in 5 minutes, you wouldn't be against fixing that?
No, like, because there's still a weekly lock in place, just like the weekly cap here.
But that just completely ruins the game.
How?
How do you not see that? If you can make it,
if there is a weekly cap on the raid,
everyone's gonna do it.
Right?
Everyone's gonna do it. That's gonna be the entire game. Is this?
But if we can all only do it once a week because the lockout or cap hasn't changed, who cares if it takes us 5 minutes or an hour and a half?
I'm so triggered right now. I need to save space.
I had to smoke. I had to smoke. I smoked on the free-to-play cast.
So I just don't get how you could be for exploits, though.
It's not an exploit.
That. But in my example of raiding, you're like, oh, it's fine if everyone is exploits the raid.
No,
as long as there's a cap, it's all good.
If they're exploiting the raid, then that needs to be fixed. This wasn't an exploit. If you find a faster, legitimate route, and so it takes Q and I an hour to do a raid with our group, and you and your raid have a better route and a better team and are able to do it in 20 minutes, we're still only going to be able to do it once a week. We can still, in this system, only achieve 318,000 CXP per week. And whether that's high or low, I don't know. I'm not involved enough in the system to know that that's like, oh, a lot of people could hit that pretty easily, or if that's really, you got to grind the shit out of everything to hit it. I couldn't tell you, and I'm not making a judgment on that. The point is, on my side, that there is a weekly cap. This was a legitimate way of farming things. How were you so off that you had to reduce something by 90% within days? And why take it away?
No one's arguing that they reduced it too much, though. I'm just arguing that exploits are unintended coding.
This isn't an exploit! Unintended.
So
they intended them to be worth 10.
Are unintended, like,
this wasn't unintended.
Made a mistake, right?
This wasn't unintended.
They made a mistake. They're trying to fix it, but they fixed it way too much.
This wasn't unintended. This wasn't somebody found a magic wall you could jump over and there's 700 gold sitting there. This was, okay, we're going to make these guys worth 10, and these will be worth this, and 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 that's exactly where we think it should go. And oh, hey, look, people are spending hours doing this in a group. Well, if that's the way they want to play, you've put in a brand new system. They're playing your game
No, everything else needs to be elevated. That way, everything is as close to being equal as possible. Because that was their philosophy from the start, and they need to get it towards that particular vision as much as possible.
Okay,
but yes,
so they
screwed up.
People found a way that they wanted to play the game within the rules of a new system, and BioWare just unilaterally decided, that's not how we want you to play our game.
No.
That's exactly what they did!
It's not at all.
By taking it from 10 to 1, they unilaterally decided, we don't want you to play that way.
The developers did not intend on being a thing, and so they're exploiting it. That's exactly what's going on.
If they didn't intend for it to be a thing, they wouldn't have put points on it at all. They would have said, these are worthless, don't worry about it.
No, because they wanted to do it, just not at that scale. It's as simple as that. Like I said, they didn't intend on it being that fast.
You would have thought there would have been some testing somewhere along the line that might have told them that 10 points would have been a little too fast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. I'm not arguing that they were completely in the fault as far as lowering it that much and that they were an error that they completely screwed up originally. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think everything else should have been elevated along with it to get it to their particular vision, not just completely nerf it in the ground, sort of like what Blizzard does in a lot of cases with a lot of things. Because that's improper. Like, that's not how you patch a game to be balanced. You don't just nerf things into the ground to fix it or completely rid it out of existence. You figure out, okay, well, let's just lower it a little bit more, or higher other things a little bit, higher things a little bit more to try and get it up to where you want it to be. That's how you fix things. You don't nerf things into the ground. That's completely stupid.
I don't think they should have changed it at all. All right, let's move on before I start doing coke and shit here. Let us know how you feel in the comments below.
Chill out.
You know, and we both could just totally be, it doesn't matter, we just made a mountain out of a molehill, but I like debating with Zach sometimes. And I disagree with him here. So let's move on. This is going to run late anyway. I had a preview with Try On Worlds this week for ArcheAge's new update, which is going live on the 10th. Revelation. Now, on the content side of things, I'm just kind of like, well, whatever. I'm not an ArcheAge player, so you're getting new races, 2 new races, one for the East, one for the West. You're getting new housing areas that are pretty big, actually. You're getting all kinds of new content. But what I want to talk about, what I thought was the most interesting, and what I really focused on in the preview article that I wrote up, and you could take a look at MMO Bomb for, was the way they're handling fresh start servers. I'm actually really impressed by what seems to me, at least verbally, we'll have to see how it's executed, right? That's always a thing with ArcheAge, is how it's executed. How much of the player feedback over previous fresh start servers and what was wrong with them from the player's perspective, XL Games and Try On Worlds really seem to take a lot of this stuff to heart, Q, and really just kind of revamp the entire way they're doing the fresh start servers.
If they do it properly, that's great. Obviously, like you were saying, the part of the complaint was that it wasn't really a fresh start server because of the way they implemented it before, and everything else. So if it's a legitimate fresh start server, and that's what players are looking for, that's great. So again, though it is Try On with somebody else's game.
Yeah, so, I mean, the #1 complaint, Zach, has always been on the fresh start servers that, yeah, while it's a brand new character, you're able to create it on the account, and there's a lot of things like loyalty and labor and credits that are gained at the account level. So while the character's new, it is taking advantage of perks that the account has farmed up over time, so it's not a real fresh start. Not this time, you got to create a brand new account. That simple. Which is kind of a pain in the ass, I guess, if you're a longtime ArcheAge player, to have a second account just to jump on here, but definitely takes care of that problem, and no, you're not going to be transferring and stuff like that. So they squashed that one. The marketplace is receiving changes, even though they removed things last time in the previous fresh starts. There were still some of the more expedite-y things, like farming wood faster and those types of items, gone. And eventually they may come back, but they are not committing to a date. They want people to play this from the start. Balance and progression were way out of whack. They're going to be monitoring character creation and limiting things. Longtime players in previous updates didn't get any love or recognition for being longtime founders. Now they're getting a special founders box that has some items reminiscent, all cosmetic, from the past. The server update and release schedule has always been a biggie with ArcheAge, right? With the land grabbing, everybody upset that the update's launching on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. This time it's launching on Saturday. EU and US have very specific times, and these servers will not open early, even if the maintenance is done. Land concerns, they've upgraded security, they've added almost 3,000 medium-sized plots in this update. You can only have 2 unbuilt houses at a time. Some of these updates have come over the last year or so anyway. I was really, and I told them, I said, I'm really impressed with what it sounds like you guys are trying to do here with the fresh start, Zach.
It all sounds good, but it's Try On. They're gonna screw up. It's gonna happen. It's New Age Try On. This is what they do. So I really think that for a lot of ArcheAge players, this might be a breath of fresh air, and they might really want this type of thing to exist. But it really just comes down to Try On's messaging is usually pretty good, except for, of course, when they implied that the original ArcheAge game was pay to win.
Which I asked them about.
Yeah, but, I mean, the rest of their messaging usually is fairly good in terms of sort of using flowery, language, like this is what we intend on doing. It's just they don't usually end up resulting in like a perfect execution of what they want to particularly do. And a lot of that with ArcheAge, as I've always stated, has to do with the fact that they're just the publisher of the game, not the developer, and it really just falls on the fact that XL Games might not have made the best game ever, which is why it comes down to the fact with land grab hacking, how that was a thing, how travel hacking was a thing, how pretty much any type of hacking you can think of was a thing in ArcheAge for the longest time. I'm not sure if it's still as rampant as it was, but I have a feeling someone's going to exploit something or hack or whatever the case may be and get all that land and snatch it up in an instant, just like they did in the regular game. I just have a feeling that's going to happen, and they're not going to be able to fix it in time. And it's basically going to either result in a server wipe, or they're just going to be like, well, we tried a fresh start. It didn't really result in anything that fresh other than the same old ArcheAge issues.
Or they could nerf it to hell and back and just take housing out.
Yeah.
You know, take the
BioWare
approach.
Nerf it by 90%. Just nerf housing by 90% across the board.
Just take the BioWare approach, Q. Q, does this interest you at all? Because, like, I'm going to be honest, I actually installed ArcheAge again just to kind of putz around in it a little bit before this update to see if it was something I wanted to jump into. Does it do anything for you, seeing these are all directly player concerns, and yeah, knowing that Tryon doesn't really have the power to do these things on their own, this means that look at the player feedback that not only got back to Tryon and was read, but that Tryon took back to XL Games and made these things happen.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, when it comes to Tryon, I pretty much don't bother with any game that they're publishing for somebody else or something like that. The only games of theirs I really bother with are the ones they've made themselves, and then even then, you know, it's kind of, yeah.
It's kind of beep beep beep.
I mean, I hate saying, you know, oh, well, Tryon, because I miss the days when it was like, you know, when Tryon just first hit the scene and you're just like, holy crap, these guys are doing really good stuff and they're nailing everything. And then, you know, they start messing with other people's content, and that's really what happened. They started messing with other people's content and it all went downhill. So after that, it was just kind of like, I just don't really mess with anything other than maybe hopping into Rift every once in a while. Like, you know, just to see what's going on because I have my white tiger in there.
On the pay-to-win comment, by the way, I was spending some time with Merv Lee Kwai and Amanda Fry, so senior producer and producer. And I, of course, asked them about the whole pay-to-win comment on Facebook that we brought up on the previous cast. And they said, yeah, terrible wording. And that was totally should have been worded a different way. And was not meant to imply what some people thought. I also asked them, hey, you know, as a fresh start, although the fresh start servers appeal to longtime ArcheAge players as well, with new players, with all these complex systems and everything, what's your advice on getting a new player into this game when they take over? And they said, just play your own pace. Don't be pressured by the internet. So if you want to grind monsters for 17 hours, because that's the best way to... Never mind, I'm skipping it, Zach. We're going straight to the weekly bombs. Go ahead, Zach. Get yours out of the way.
I'm gonna give a dub bomb to SWTOR, at least on the story side. I haven't messed with the Galactic Command enough to even have too much of an opinion on it. But I really have been enjoying the storyline. Like I mentioned before, it's definitely a huge improvement over the last expansion. And for only having to pay $15 a year and then getting a bunch of cartel coins every year because I have an authenticator on my account, I mean, I get over $10 with a cartel coin just because of that. So I can just hop in if I want to play as a free player, and I can just spend those cartel coins on whatever I need to unlock or whatever. And I could play it at my own pace and enjoy the experience that I'm given. And for $15 a year, like I said, for that much content, for that quality of content, I have to give them a thumbs up. Because even though it's restricted in a lot of ways, like I said, pop an authenticator on your account, get that free 1,200 cartel coins a year, and unlimit your account, you know, free up some of that issue that you have with the game, and also have a secure account alongside that.
Q.
Yeah, I'm going to give an A-bomb, and this has nothing to do with anything that's been said on the show, but an A-bomb to developers who write posts that tell us absolutely nothing. You're a game dev, you're not a politician. If you're going to drop a post, at least tell us something, and don't make me like, things are going to happen in 2017, but let's talk about 2016 and then just say that things are going to happen.
Would you possibly be referring to WildStar?
Well, I mean, they are obviously not the only people to do this, but it's really, like, seriously, I now have to go and write a post basically saying you said nothing. At least say something worth, you know, worth me writing about. Like,
Stuff and Things 2017.
exactly.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to... whoa, I hit the wrong button. I'm going to give a dub bomb to ArcheAge and XL Games and Tryon Worlds on big changes based on what ticked players off. I love seeing that. Now, granted, it might not make ArcheAge shed the whole pay-to-win stigma that it has, and it, you know, may not work. There may be some launch snafus. I mean, anything could happen. But from what I'm seeing prior to launch, it's nice to see. So let's go to the viewers. Cockalypse, longtime viewer. I haven't seen you in a while, Cockalypse.
I just want to note something. I literally have 15 minutes, apparently, because Windows is like, we're going to automatically restart your computer in 15 minutes.
We'll go fast.
Windows.
Does that.
We'll go fast.
A-bomb to Windows. A-bomb to Windows.
Yeah, Cockalypse knows his shit. Him and I disagree on stuff occasionally, but knows his shit. So Cockalypse talking about the horror movie, or the horror MMO stuff. There was that London-based MMORPG. I assume he's referring to Hellgate, which, by the way, there's a multiplayer version. The multiplayer portion of that game is being spun up by another company. Requiem, Bloody Mare was good, never updated, Left to Die. That's still being updated. Secret World, some parts of current MMORPGs have dark-themed maps. Secret World, I think, was the one that we all mentioned right off the bat when we were talking about horror-themed MMOs and how they could be made. So there's a few for you fans out there from a long-time MMO bomber. Go ahead, Zach.
All right, Hellsworth says, about the horror, Americans have a different spin on the concept. In Europe, it's believed to be more of an environment than just the jumping on your chair, fleeting emotion. As an example, it's the kind of environment you get when you see the Witcher 3 trailers, and I believe it could be easily achievable with a BioWare-style storyline within a Souls, Demon, or Dark World style. The bomb to Sky Saga. Me and my friends got a key to test out the game, still in alpha. Huge emphasis on detail and slick production on this one. Also a bomb on 1 grammar. 2, Mr. Winters. Ha, nailed it. Cold. Best of wishes on this one. Get well soon. And number 3, Random Pimples.
Yep.
Also on a bombs from number 4 to hashtag 1000 bugs everywhere. I play something is not the way it's supposed to be, or even crashes, and this is not in random alphas, it's in every game. Are we just so eager to get new stuff that no one has the time to get them done properly, or are people just getting slacky? What's going on? Merry Christmas, everyone.
And to you, a little column A, a little column B, in my opinion. Go ahead, Q.
All right, told short. I want to see MMO gamers quit whining about everything that isn't free. Almost every game you play these days, there are people asking if something is free, then complaining when it isn't. Wanting it to be free is fine, as we all want a deal, but for fuck's sake, the whining isn't needed. DeBomb to Jason for being a trooper.
He was a trooper last week. Horatio Mazzani says, I played Dark Eden back in 2000, ? I forgot. It wasn't scary. But yeah, there was gore, blood, and things like looting the head of dead. Requiem Memento Mori, which Cockalypse mentioned under the previous update's name, is the only horror MMORPG 3D, but it's already very old, and I don't know if it's alive. It's still alive. I just popped on their site yesterday, and there were some updates going on early in December, so maybe worth checking out. Go ahead, Zach.
Yep. K-Relies says, the bomb to Hammerwatch. A great dungeon runner for 4 friends who play together. It currently has 2 4 to 6 hour campaigns.
I am going to have to take a look at that. That sounds like my cup of tea. Go ahead, Q.
Epic Burst, +1 sub. I really enjoyed this conversation, something I usually look to Total Biscuit for, but being able to download your guys' podcasts and listen to them while writing a paper or traveling is really cool. I learned a lot about games I've oftentimes just ignored. But still listen to TB, he's cool.
Yes, TB is awesome. But thank you, Epic Burst, for the sub and for the compliment. We appreciate it. Feedback, good and bad, always welcome. And we're not afraid to put the bad feedback on here on the show, too. Sky Shadow A-bombed infestation. Just why? Why is this a thing? Even my antivirus was like, BioWare, shitty game with an even worse player base. That's so awesome. I spent 1 hour just to try and get the damn thing running, just to get shot instantly by campers and set on cooldown for 1 hour. No. Go to hell. There are way too many good games to waste my life on. Like Unturned, the same type of game with Minecraft-like graphics, but 10 times better gameplay, and made my one teenager that's on its own in a huge insult and made my one teenager, Sky, I think there's a word missing there. That on its own is a huge insult to the piece of shit, which is the new Z. Sky, not afraid to say what he's thinking. I thought the best review for this was loaded into game. I'm trying to remember it. It was on Steam. Loaded into game, got beat to death by a backpack wielding a flashlight.
I just want to know.
That's all
if Sky can tell us what antivirus they're using that tells them if games are shitty or not, I want that antivirus.
Right? Go ahead, Zach.
Richie Narf says, A-bomb to Final Fantasy XIV and the latest raid tier being much easier than previous tiers.
True.
I understand that the hardcore raiders are a minority, but the rest of the players already get 2 dungeons, 24-man raids, primals, main story quests, gold, saucer minigames, normal level raids, PvP, and crafting recipes. Do they really need to simplify the Savage tier raids so that they can be done by the majority of the players as well? There needs to be a stop to the tyranny of the majority in MMORPGs.
I agree. I have not done Savage yet, but yes. Go ahead, Q.
Lou Gaming, ArcheAge is pay to win. Did you guys even make it to max level? Because ArcheAge is pay to win and everyone who played it knows it.
I don't think any of us argued that it wasn't.
I argued it based off my definition that I clearly stated, but go watch Total Biscuit and you'll understand.
Question of the week last week. Time to write your letters to MMORPG Santa. What do you want this holiday season in the world of MMOs and why? Sailor Naruto 39 says, Dear MMO Santa, please give me an action combat game that isn't just a tabless tab targeter or some soft targeting bullshit. I tried Terra and it's okay and all, but not as much or as smooth or as fast-paced as I would like it to be. Again, tabless tab targeter. I want a free-to-play open-world Vindictus. Black Desert is okay, recently got back into it, but I still resent that game for not being as good as I hoped for a $100 Founders Pack. Come on, MMO Santa, show me what you got. Go ahead, Zach.
Salami Smuggler.
I had to. I love the name.
That is a great name.
Anytime Salami, the first time I ever saw the name was last week's show. Anytime Salami comments, it's almost guaranteed to make the show.
It's amazing. Dear Santa, I just want to know what I want in an MMO anymore. When I say I want sandboxes, I end up getting one and wish there were for more structure. When I get good structure games, I end up feeling it ends up feeling too much like theme park claustrophobia. You're good with existential. Yeah, I completely read that backwards. Existential questions, right, Santa?
I think Salami Smuggler might need an MMO therapist.
Yeah, right?
Go ahead, Q.
Speaking of great names, Kinetic Fetus. Dear MMO Santa, please kick DE in the nuts for making every new Warframe that comes out more tedious to create than the last. It's a simple wish.
Sky Shadow says, I want a mini game where there are 5v5 players trying to hide from Santa Claus because he's trying to kill you. One hit kill. Then you need to reveal or push the enemy team so Santa Claus can, slaughter them. And the winners get points to buy random Christmas-related shit from some random-ass vendor that is not canon to the world in any way. And a small event where you can send gifts to other players, and depending on the value of the gift, you get Christmas Spirit, which you can then use to buy mounts, pets, gear, skins, all that good stuff. Because Christmas is the time of sharing, and the time to spend all your money on seasonal skins and that sweet new reindeer mount.
This feels like a Secret World thing. Go talk to Funcom.
Yeah, it does. Finish it up, Zach.
James Esparza says, for Christmas, I would like the live-action MMORPG web show titled Massive Multiplayer. The show would take place in the modern day, but bends to the rules of an MMO. See classic comedic and dramatic moments unfold with an MMO twist. The show centers around 3 strapping young men who try to make their way in an MMO trope-ridden world. Mike feels a bit detached from his other half as he is out dungeon raiding, but she just wants to do the daily grind. Jason can't find the proper outfit to wear that both looks good and carries the proper stats to help him throughout the day. Meanwhile, Zach randomly stumbles upon a new purple shirt, boosting his stats through the roof. Yes. Needless to say, Jason is not happy. He is going to give in to the dark side. Yes, always give in to the dark side. And buy a full purple suit for $10 American to the shady dealer down the street, ? This and so much more coming next year to MMO Bomb.
All right, all joking aside, James, I think Q and I discussed this many, many years ago on doing a web show that was real life, little 7 or 10 minute episodes on MMOs in the real world, like getting the aggro of or trying to tank the employee at a fast food joint and stuff like that. So it's been there. Question of the week next week. I want to do a really bizarre game first look since it's the slow month right now of December. Not a lot new coming out for me to pump out first looks for you. And if I pump out first looks on the stuff that is coming out, then you'll stop watching them because it'll just be a bunch of wait and see background games. So take a peek at MMO Bomb's first looks on the website and find one that for one reason or another, due to time or content or whatever, we just haven't done, and give me a recommendation. I want it to be a little outlandish, though, so if it's a silly game or something that I can riff on and have a good time with, great. But at least make the damn game mildly interesting. If you throw me a wait-and-see game, I'm just going to ignore it. Throw the comments in there below, and don't forget your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. Until next week, where can everybody find you, Q?
Hanging out on Twitter's at Quintland.
Mr. Sharps.
Twitter at Zach Sharps.
And you can follow me, I'm Mike Byrne, on Twitter at magicman1, MAGICKMANN1. Of course, also follow at MMOBomb while you are there so that you get all the hits for our latest articles, giveaways, videos, free-to-play casts, all that good stuff. Check out lootxp.com as well, sister site we just started. And until next week, we'll see you on the servers. I'm going to go farm golds.